Yeah, that was Tetris with its original Russian folk song music. I believe it was called Korobieniki. So what are we waiting for? Poekali. Poekali, indeed.
What does that mean, RK?
I think so. So Poekali was so when Yuri Gagarin, the very first human
In
to
space.
go into space. Incidentally, not a very long time ago. I mean, I think the what's that? The anniversary was just 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay.
And he was sitting on top of the Soyuz rocket for a very long time. And I think he just wanted to go. And at that point, he was just ready to go. And he was like, Poekali, or off we go, or let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah,
So let's go
Yeah.
with the Tetris thing. Russian inspired everything. Huh?
Russian inspired everything.
Yeah.
So, you know.
The original coder was also came out of Russia, right? The game.
Russian, I mean, Tetris is a Russian game.
Right.
And by the way, Tetris, I believe, is the most sold game anywhere in the world. It wasn't Pac-Man, it wasn't Mario.
Oh,
it was, in fact,
Tetris.
It was, in fact, Tetris. Yeah. And that's what we want to do today. But here's the thing. I mean, I think it's, I don't think we can accomplish this in one episode.
Right.
We can if we tried, but it'll be too long of an episode and I don't want to do that.
Correct.
So let's do this in 2 parts. So we'll have 2 parts. This is the first of the 2 parts, and this won't be like the traffic management system that we started and we never went anywhere with it. I still have that in the back of my mind.
Yes.
Still want to complete
a project
it.
to complete.
Just evaluating some things in my head with whatever little time I have.
Sure.
So we will get to that, but this one we'll definitely finish it next week. Alrighty. What do I need to do? Let me just switch cameras over here, and I believe it's Control 4. All right. So I just have like a, just before we get started with the whole Tetris thing, so that we are all on the same page, we're all discussing the same thing. This is what the Tetris game looks like. You would have pieces called tetrominos, which would fall down on these blocks, and your job was to ensure that you were able to complete rows upon rows of things like this. Rows upon rows of blocks like this. So as soon as you completed a whole block, that block would go away, and your job was to make sure that you never reached the top, because once you were unable to stack them in such a way that rows did not disappear, then you would then it stopped. You basically lost.
Right.
Tetris essentially consisted of these 7 pieces, all right, and they were called tetrominos, by the way. I think that's the technical term. I think we are all familiar with these shapes. There were also other shapes that came out later during Tetris's development, or other offshoots of Tetris.
Right.
But those were not. I think let's just use the word state-sanctioned Tetris pieces.
Sure.
So these are the most famous pieces. So there's the J tetromino, L tetromino, right? I mean, because they look like those shapes. This is the I tetromino, O tetromino, Z, S, and then the T tetromino. These are the 7 pieces that we will be working with. All right, and also keep in mind that these Tetris pieces you can also rotate these pieces.
Correct.
All right, and what I'm going to do, at least in this session, is to make sure that all of these Tetris pieces are, of course, they're going to be represented as arrays. Everything is going to be represented as an array, but even the pieces are going to be represented as 2-dimensional arrays. Now the thing is, because these pieces need to rotate, I will have to ensure that these 2-dimensional arrays are evenly sized, which means, see, if you look at this can be accommodated in a 2x3 array.
Correct.
But I'm going to use a 3x3 array because the rotation logic makes a little bit more sense if you have it like that.
Got it.
All right. Okay. So that being said, what do I have for setup? I mean, that concludes, I think, the explanation part of it. The setup is exactly the same. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we don't use any frameworks or anything. No jQuery, no P5.js, no processing. We just use good old HTML and JavaScript. And the reason we do that is so that you can just go ahead, take this code and execute it without having to download libraries or anything like that. As much as possible. I know, as much as possible. All right. So that being said, what do I have for setup? I have a HTML file. I've included a file called tetris.js. I have a canvas on the page, which is of size 400 by 600. I think it needs to accommodate the Tetris shape. And I have a div over here, but don't mind that. I just do it so that I can center the canvas sent to the canvas on the HTML page. This is my JavaScript file. I have a context, width and height. These are all basically globals. I initialize the context, like this by using the get context. Then I call a function called Tetris that essentially should start the Tetris process and so on and so forth. All right. So I would need. So let's just go ahead and get started. I mean that concludes the setup. Let's just begin coding. All right. So basically let's just look at it in the browser. So if you're not able to see it, I'm terribly sorry, but there is a canvas here on this page. That is rendered. It's of size 400 by 600, just as we declared it on the page. All right. So how do I intend to actually do the Tetris thing, right? So like going back to the presentation, anybody who looked at this would immediately recognize that this is essentially a 2x2 array. It's a double dimensional array, with set number of rows and set number of rows and number of columns. Now each cell would have a specific size, that so that it fits completely on the canvas itself. And it's easier to do that because it's easy for me to sort of take these pieces and transpose them onto our main array, which would be like this. Now, array manipulation is easy. And the reason why it is easy is because what I can do is I can have these pieces marked as, let's say, if it's a 1 on a 2-dimensional array, I could initialize them all to 0. All right, it's a 2-dimensional array. But if it's a 1, it means there is some piece over there or something over there, right? So that I could sort of display it on a different color or something like that. So this would be like, let's say, for example, a 1. And for me to find out if a row is completed, all I have to do is add up all the rows. If they match the number of columns, then that's it. That row is complete.
Right.
I can like sort of remove it from the array. So that's the idea over here. All right. So we spoke about a 2-dimensional array. Let's just go ahead and get started with it. But first, I will need to declare the number of rows and the number of columns. Let's just declare them as constants. I'll say const rows is equal to 25, const columns is equal to 11. Now I am doing this completely arbitrarily, all right, but through trial and error I have found out that these are the optimal sizes. I will also have a cell size. Basically I'm just initializing this at 20, but the cell size, I need this to be dynamic because it needs to work with on mobile devices also. So I'll just say cell size for now is just the height divided by 20. Height divided by the number of rows that I want. All right. So that each, basically I just need all of the cells to fit into that 600, that 600 array. All right. So I have that done. I will also need a 2-dimensional array. I'm going to call this the Tetris array. Yes. Tetris ARR. I'm just going to say this is a new array. I can just say like this, right? And I will say for let I is equal to 0, I less than rows I plus plus. All right. So it's always rows and then the columns are rendered. So I'll just say let j is equal to 0, j less than cos j plus plus. Over here I will just say Tetris ARR of I is equal to an array itself, and then in here I will just say Tetris ARR of I of j is equal to 0. Simple as that. All right. So basically I'm initializing an empty 2-dimensional array that is supposed to contain the pieces. Now that I have done this, I also need to render them on the screen. So let's just render them on the screen. To start rendering them, I'll say context dot. First things first. I'm going to draw a black background. The board is going to be black, and the pieces are going to be of different color. That's the intention I have. So I'll say context dot fill style is equal to. For now, I'm just going to say RGBA. Okay, and I'll make it black, right? So it's 0, 0, 1 context dot begin path context dot right, 0 comma 0 comma width comma height. Context dot fill. So this should draw a black background, and right after that I should just begin to I'll just begin to start to draw the array. Right, is that it? Yeah, I mean I think that's it, right? I mean I just have to start drawing the array.
Sure.
So I'll just say what? Okay, I'll just say context dot stroke style. I mean, because these are, each one is going to be an individual rectangle. I'm going to say stroke style is equal to hash going to draw like really mild, so I'll just say dd. Alright, so that they are like a very mild gray, right, or very light. Oh no, I mean it should be the other way around. Let's say 88. So a dark gray rectangle. All of them are going to be dark rectangles. Say for let I is equal to 0, I less than Tetris array dot length I plus plus, and say I'll say x is equal to 0. Let y is equal to 0, and this would be just context dot begin path context dot rect x comma y. I mean, so basically they start from that x y, and then we need a width and a height, and the width and the height should basically be the cell size, whichever cell size it comes, right? So the cell size comma cell size. So that would be my this thing, and then just say context dot stroke. All right, let's see if this renders on the screen, so that we are all on the right. We are at least on the right track. So right now it has managed to draw only one of them.
Right.
That's because we are not incrementing the x or the y.
Right.
So over here I will have to say, because this is a row, I'll have to increment the row, I suppose. I'll say x plus is equal to cell size, and when it comes over here, when it comes out of the inner loop, I'll just say x is equal to 0, so that I restart it back. But I'll say y plus is equal to cell size. When I do that, it should like completely draw it, but it has like occupied the entire thing over here. So instead of Tetris array dot length, it should be Tetris array of I dot length, right? I mean, it was drawing rows by rows. It's now rows by, it should be rows by columns. So we don't want this to occupy the entire width of the canvas, because we want to show the score, the next piece, and yeah, I mean, I think score details and how many pieces, how many rows you have removed, and all of those things.
Got it.
All right. So yeah, so I think we are beginning to take shape over here. One thing that I would like to change is to make them a little bit more dimmer, because right now they stand out very much,
Yeah.
and the issue with that is that if they stand out a lot, then the pieces won't be visible. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to 4 yeah, so that they stand down a little. I'm also going to make sure that the line stroke thickness is like very small. So I'm just going to make 0.2 for example. This should make them, so there you go. All right, let me just go back to, let's say 66. A lot of trial and error happens over here. So yes, so right now we've like basically drawn the Tetris array. We've got a representation of the entire game board as such, and all I have to do is sort of start drawing the pieces and everything. All right, just to start with, let's say for example I had a piece over here, and if I say this is 1. Now, if this is 1, I want that cell to be highlighted, or at least that's the plan, right? So all I have to do is say, if Tetris array of I of j is equal to 1, it means just make sure that you highlight it. All right. And how do you highlight it? What color do you highlight it with? I can say context dot, let's say fill style is equal to, what about green? Does green sound exciting to you. All
Sure.
right. So I'm just going to say 55 FF 55. So it should be like a nice green color. All right. Let's see how that looks like. Ooh, I is not defined. Why is it not defined? Oh my God! Look at what I've done. Let's say J. How could I have even done that? All right. I is not defined at 31. Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm just going to say 5 comma 5. So we discovered 2 bugs. Yeah, so I forgot to change the variable name from I to j over here, and then it was that. Yeah, so there you go. But I still don't see the thing. So if I of j is equal to 1, right? So I have made this equal to 1. Then fill style. Oh, instead of stroke, I should say what? Fill. Yeah, I mean, okay, fill style is double L. Sorry, I'm making a lot of mistakes today. So there you go. So that's basically how it is filled. But here's the thing. If let's say, for example, if it was like this, right? If I say 5 of 6 and 5 of 7, if I was to highlight, let's say 3 of them, they look like, continuous pieces. I mean, they look like continuous pieces. So I don't want them to like completely fill it.
Yeah.
So I'll just make them a little bit smaller than the cell size itself. All right. So that way, what will happen is they will not occupy the entire cell, and you should still be able to see the divisions.
Borders.
Yeah, see the borders of the cell. All right. So that's basically just rendering on them on the screen. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm also going to so the cell array. All right. So this is like a 2-dimensional array. It can have one of 2 values. It can have either a 1, which basically represents a piece that is still falling, or it can have a 2, which means it is a piece that has finished falling and it has basically settled down. All right. So it can either be a 1 or a 2. Okay.
Okay.
So if it's a 1, I do it like this. If it's a 2, then I just make it, let's say, a little bit yellow, and then it is, and then it's the same thing, right? So let's just make sure that we test this also. Let's say I make this 10 by 10, and I give it the value 2. This is just for testing purposes. And if I was to see it on the screen, this is what it should look like. It's a little bit dark greenish, but I wanted it a little bit yellow. How do I make something yellow? So it should be 5. Should it be? Oh, okay, I get it. I think it should be, let's say, FF00, which should make it yellow. All right, so there you go. So a settled piece would essentially look yellow, and a piece that is still currently falling would look green. All right.
Got it.
So that's the intention I have here. All right. Let's remove our test thing so that, I mean, we know that we have basically finished, or at least the rendering part of it. All right.
Yeah.
Here comes the pieces part of it. So let's look at all of these things, and let's declare them as specific arrays. I mean, this is the this is the part we will where we will declare our 2-dimensional arrays. All right. And we'll let's just declare them in the same order that we see it. All right. And like we discussed before, we'll have to ensure that these pieces are evenly, they are all even 2-dimensional arrays. So if it's it's either a 3x3, 4x4, 2x2, or, it's not a 2x3 or a 3x4 piece. And the reason for that is, it makes rotation a little bit easier. Right? Now, I don't want to sort of pollute this tetris.js with all of the pieces declared. So I'm just going to declare a new file, or I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call them pieces.js. I'm not calling them tetromino.js because it's a very long word and everything. I'm just going to call them pieces. All right. And, this is the part of the video where I'm going to fast forward through, because this is just a tedious process. You don't have to sit through this. All right. So let's start to declare this one, the J tetromino. Okay. All right. So we've just declared all of the tetrominos. Now here's the thing. So basically we will start dropping these tetrominos, or we start dropping these pieces from the top row onwards and until they reach the bottom and everything. Okay. Which means every time they reach the bottom, I'll need to start with a new fresh one.
Right.
And that means I will need to pick from a random. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare an array and put them all inside one big array. So I'm just going to say where all tetrominos is equal to, it's a list of all of the these things. So that would be the J tetromino, the L tetromino, what's that? The I tetromino, O tetromino, Z, S and T. Z tetromino, S tetromino and T tetromino. Correct? That's it. So now I have basically all of the arrays over here. All right. Let me also declare a function over here, and I'm just going to say function random tetromi. I'm beginning to regret calling them tetrominos because they're such a long word.
Yeah.
Or let's just say that R&D is equal to random between 0 and all tetrominos dot length. And before I forget, let me also go to my index.html and include pieces.js. All right, so that they are all included. So I have a random between these two. I'm just going to put +1, just to be sure, just to make sure that the last piece is also included. And I'll also, put them between the bounds of the array itself. So if random ever exceeds the size of this one, so if it ever exceeds the size, then just make it the size. Oh, I should keep forgetting how the ternary operator works, or else just let it be random. All right, so this is basically just putting them in between, and then all I'll do is I'll say return all tetrominos of R&D. So that gives me a random tetromino. Okay, now these tetrominos, they are going to be starting to fall from the top and they'll reach the bottom.
Right.
Which means on this Tetris array, they will have a specific row and a column as to where they are falling. So I'll just declare those variables. That's number one. And number two, that piece is going to be falling. So we will also have to declare which piece is currently falling. So I'll just declare those three variables. And I'm going to call them current. Shall I just call them current piece? Say current piece. This is the current row, and this is the current column. All right. So I have the current piece and I have the row and the column. So what I'll do right now, I'll just say current piece is equal to random, right? Is equal to random tetromino. The row would be basically 0 because it has to start from the top, and the column I'll say just start it from the middle of the page. All right.
Sense.
So which means that will be how many ever columns we have divided by 2. Right. So I'll just say parse int of columns by 2. Basically just start from somewhere in the middle. Oh no, hold on. So it should be columns by 2 minus current piece of 0 dot length minus 1 by 2 or dot length by 2. And I'm really hoping that this is making sense. Okay, so let's say I have a piece like this, right? If I have to start it from the center, I'll also have to consider the center of the piece itself that is falling. So that's why if it has to be properly in the center, it is the columns that we have columns by 2 minus whatever piece, the width of the piece divided by 2, so that it properly starts from the center onwards. That's it, right? And all I have to do now is sort of draw this piece on the Tetris board itself, correct? And to do that, all I have to do is assign this current piece to the Tetris array. Okay, so let's just write a function for that, correct? So I'll just call this function draw piece. And to draw this piece on the board, all I have to do is have like a 2-dimensional array, which will go something like this. For let I is equal to 0, I less than current piece dot length I plus plus, and the same thing for the columns. So the outer loop would be the rows, the inner loop would be the columns. So current piece of I dot piece, and then I'll just say Tetris array of I plus row of j plus column is equal to current piece of I of j. Alright, so this will basically draw the piece on the board itself. Where on the board it will draw it on the row and on the specific column itself. Should this be I plus row and and j plus col? Yes, it should be, because because there is a one. So if you consider this, let's say, as a 3x3 array, then this needs to be over on this row, starting from this row and ending from this and ending on this row and column. So it basically needs to do this transpose, right? So in this Tetris function, even before we do this, we'll just say draw piece, and we'll so let's just see how this works, right? Okay, random between is not defined. Why not, sir? Oh, you know what? I haven't. Wow, that's so okay. I mean, I usually have the CodeSpace API, CodeSpace API.js. All right. I mean, I'm glad we made this mistake, because it gives me the opportunity to define what CodeSpace API is. I mean, it's just a set of a lot of utility functions are written in this, and one of the utility functions is this random between, that will give me a random value between this and this. All right, so very simple functions written, nothing complicated, a few constants here and there, and things like that, nothing very complicated. So this is all on GitHub, so I encourage you to actually go ahead and look at what the CodeSpace API looks like. All right, so let's see. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. I know what's happening. So basically, we are not doing a parseInt over here. So parseInt is very important because we're dealing with arrays, and array indexes are always integers. So we should be able to now say Control F5, and there you go. So that's so every time I refresh, it should be a random piece that is basically falling down.
Nice.
All right, let me also increase the size of this one. How do I increase the? All right, it doesn't matter. Anyways, there I go. I have the pieces defined. But now what? I'll need the pieces to basically fall down, right? And how do they fall down? That's pretty easy. All I have to do is increment this row, right? I mean, if I increment the row, they should fall down. So I have the draw piece method. Let me just create a function, and I'm going to call this function move piece, right? Sure. Oh no! I'll say drop piece, because technically that is what is happening. And what needs to happen in this drop piece is that, first of all, the row will increase, right? When the row increases, it needs to clear out the entire board, because it needs to set everything to 0 all of the cell states to 0
Mm-hmm.
because it needs to remove the old reference and then add the new reference.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? Let me do it without that and I'll show you what happens.
Mm.
Okay, so first things first, I'll need let me just increase the row
Mm.
over here. I'll say row plus plus, which will basically just increase the row. And then all I have to do is say draw piece, right? I mean, once I've increased it, I'll just say draw piece.
Mm.
And I'll say set timeout, call the drop piece after, let's say, 500 milliseconds or 300 milliseconds, like a nice happy medium. So once I have invoked the Tetris function for the very first time, it should call back the Tetris function.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually the Tetris function that should be called over and over again and not the drop piece. Okay, so I'm going to set a timeout to the Tetris function.
Mm-hmm.
To the Tetris once every 300 milliseconds, and right on top of the Tetris you can also say drop piece, right? So the drop piece does this, and then the draw. So there is a drop piece and then there is a draw piece, right? So it will first draw. It will first drop and then it will draw the piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm already calling the draw piece in the Tetris function, I don't need to call it again. So the drop piece essentially just does row plus plus. Now let's see what happens.
Oh.
It is dropping, but like I said, if you don't erase the previous value, this is what it will.
Sure.
This is what it will look like. Okay, so that's what we need to do, right? I mean, so we'll just have like a nice little array over there before we draw it.
Mm.
Should I do it before or after? Yeah, let's just do it after. So after I have incremented it, I'll just have to make sure that the Tetris array is completely erased. And by that erased, I just mean that I'll have to set the value to 0. So once I do that, look at that.
Wow.
That's an actual piece.
Dropping.
Yeah, dropping.
Perfect.
All right. And of course, we will have to also check for bounds and all of those things. But we can do that later. All right. So that basically just drops the piece. So let's just do this, right? I mean, I want to make two changes. Number one, I'm calling it drop piece, which I think is fine.
Right.
But this draw piece,
Is what you want to change.
yeah, I just want to change the name of the function because it's not actually drawing the piece,
Correct.
but it's in fact just taking the current piece and then transposing it onto the main board.
Correct.
So I'm just going to call it transpose piece, right?
Okay.
I hope that's the correct spelling. But that being said, let's just call it transpose piece and draw the piece.
No,
Yeah.
drop, you changed the wrong function.
Oh.
Drop was fine.
Yeah. Transpose piece. So we
Okay.
have that, and I want to put this entire draw where we draw the board into its own function, because I believe we are going to be calling it over and over again
Got it.
in a lot of places. So I'll just cut this out and call it draw board.
Yeah.
Right?
Most of these games have a draw board.
Draw board, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's in its own function now,
Makes sense.
and then we just draw the whole board. Alright, so this shouldn't change anything except for the drop part.
Correct.
Now here comes the here's the thing, right? We need a way to handle the keys, right? So let's just add the event onto this canvas, and instead of adding it to the canvas, let's just add it to the whole document itself.
Got it.
So yes, so I'm going to create a function and I'm going to call it add events, and it's basically responsible for adding all the events. And I think I can just say document.add event listener key down. All right, so I'm going to call this key down, which will have a function, a handler function, and it will get an event as its parameter. All right, this event will have something called as a code. So I can say event.code, and before we even get there, let's just console log the event.code, just to show you what keys are going to be printed. And of course, I need to call the add events when I'm initializing the whole thing. And because this is an initialization, I'm just going to call it right before everything else happens. All right. So hopefully, when I press a key now, you should see what keys are getting printed over here.
Yeah.
So for example, if I was to
down.
press, let's say Q, Q, you can see it's called key Q, right? W is key W. Up arrow is arrow up, arrow down, arrow left, and arrow right.
Got it.
These are the only 4 arrows or 4 keys that I want to map. The left will take the piece to the left, right will take it to the right, of course. The down will force it down, which will it'll hurry it down, right? Bring it down in a hurry. And the up arrow is going to rotate the piece.
Makes sense.
All right. I know there are other games that will make you that will allow you to rotate it in both directions. We can maybe map it at a later point in time to different keys. But for now, let's just map the up arrow and it rotates, let's say, clockwise. Okay. So how do I handle those keys? So I'll say if event.keycode is equal to, remember we said we want to handle the left and the right. Let's just do that, right? So if it is arrow left, yeah, I mean, you just have to do this. I mean, if event.code is arrow left, remember it's called column, right? So I can just say column plus plus.
Left column.
Oh, yeah, minus minus. You're right. So it's minus minus. Then I can say transpose piece, right? Which will basically copy this entire thing. And then I can just say drop board.
Okay.
All right. That should, in fact, just basically work. So let's just see if that works. You saw that, right? I am able to sort of move it to the left, right? And then it goes. So yeah, so I can actually move it to the left and then do this. Let's also do the arrow right in exactly the same manner. If it is arrow right, I'll just say column plus plus. So once again, transpose the piece, draw the board, and then you should be done. Alright, so does draw the board just draw the board? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's all it needs to do. Okay, let's see. So I have the right arrow, I have the left arrow, right arrow, right arrow. It seems to be dragging, which is sort of weird, right? Yeah, which is sort of weird, but let's see. Yeah, I mean, let's just go. I'll just say else if it is arrow right, then do this. It seems to be dragging just a little bit.
Yeah. Are we drawing board multiple times?
You mean from, yeah, so the game basically needs to proceed, so it does need to have this one. And then, yeah, I mean, it does the draw board. Then you have a set timeout, and then you can do this, right? So what, okay, so are you trying to tell me that let's not do
I don't know.
do this when
I'm not sure.
when you press a key? Because I think we can handle it. We can definitely do that as well. So the only thing that so it calls the transpose piece, which just basically copies everything from, we're never calling the drop piece. The drop piece is the one that is essentially responsible for dropping the piece and then setting the values to 0, right? So the transpose piece is the one that is supposed to first set everything to 0, set all of the values to 0, and then set the value to the current piece or the values of the current piece. I think that's how it should work. The drop piece simply does row plus plus. For now, the drop piece will play an important role at a later point in time, because it is the one that will be responsible for checking if the piece has indeed settled at the bottom, if the game is over, and things like that. But for now, it's just row plus plus. All right, the transpose piece will do that, and will sort of make everything 0. Then yes, yep. Now let's see what happens. All right, so at least that strange blur is gone, so I'm able to sort of move them. This thing. I should also do a row plus plus, because it should essentially, go fast down, right? So if it is arrow down. So I'll say row plus plus, right? And then transpose piece drawboard. So the row plus plus should make it fast. But here's the problem, right? You can see the problem. When you say row plus plus, the row is increasing at two places. Number one, when the arrow is down, and also when this Tetris, I mean, when the game itself is playing. So when the game is playing, I'm sorry, when the arrow is down, you don't want this thing to happen. And when you get it, right?
Okay.
So basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to have a variable called is key down. All right, I'm going to initialize this to false. And if the arrow is down, I'll just say is key down is equal to true, and only do the drop piece automatically if the key is not down. Right? Only do this thing if the key is not down. Now I have set the key down to true, but I also need to set it to false when the key is up, which means I need another event, and I'm going to call another function here, and I'm going to say this is key up, right? And in the exact same manner, I'll say if the key is up, if it is arrow down, then key down is equal to false, and then I don't need to do anything else. Okay, so it will only drop the piece automatically if the key is not down. That's the intention I have here, so that when I do this, it should go real fast, right? Or else what was happening is, if you do not have this, then it will sort of drop, and then the row plus plus happens when the key is down, when the key is also down. So there was a double row plus plus happening, and sort of creates strange effects and everything. So we don't want that to happen. All right, what's one thing that we need to do? We basically need to do the column bound check over here. That we can do. We can do a column bound check over here also. All right, so let's just handle those, right? I'll say if column is greater than 0, only if the column is greater than 0, then say column minus minus, right? I mean, basically you don't want that to happen. And only do a column plus plus only if it is less than the size of the, I mean, what's the size of the, I mean, I have something called as columns, which is basically this thing, minus the current piece of 0 dot length. Only then increase the, right? So current piece of 0 dot length will give me the size of the will give me the size of the column. I mean, it will give me the number of columns of the piece.
Got it.
So if this doesn't exceed the columns, only then increment the this thing. So this should basically do me a, there you go. Yeah. Nice. So it won't go out of the bounds of the of the Tetris. Right? All right. So that's another thing. What can we do row wise? Okay, this is what I was talking about. Oh, hold on, we also need to handle rotation. We also need to handle rotation, and this is a little bit of a complex piece. So before we do that, let me just draw sort of, open Excel, and I'll show you what those pieces are. All right, I'll be back in just a second. All right, my Excel sheet is ready. I mean, I keep saying Excel, but this is in fact a free version. Yeah, LibreOffice. It's called LibreOffice Calc, which is an Excel clone. I mean, we all keep saying it. We all forget that this is all coming from Lotus 123 and things like that. Yeah, these are all Lotus 123 clones. Let's just call them. Let us call them for what it is actually. All right. So that being said, this is what the rotation. This is the rotation thing that I was talking about. So supposing you had like this piece, and you needed to rotate it, let's say clockwise 180, clockwise 90 degrees. All right. So this is the destination array.
Got it.
All right. And so from the so this is the destination and this is the source. Basically, I'm just defining where the pieces are coming from when you do a rotate.
Correct.
And when you actually look at it, a pattern forms basically where they're coming from. And basically, it just means that this new I or the value for this column comes from n, which is basically the number of rows, minus j minus 1, and the new j is basically just the I. All right. So if I have to do a rotate of a given array and of a given two-dimensional array, I'm rotating it 90 degrees. This is what I will have to do. All right. So I'm hoping that this is actually clear as to what we are doing. So this is, let's say, 0, 0. Where is this piece coming from? This piece is in fact this piece.
Correct.
So it's 2, 0. So it's, and doing the same thing for all of the cells over here, you will see that there is a pattern that emerges, and this is essentially what the pattern is. All right. So let's just write this function. So let's just go over here, and I'm going to call this rotate. Let's just call it function rotate 90 clockwise. All right, which is basically meaning 90 degrees clockwise. So the function basically defines what we are doing with the array itself, and I'm going to call it an array. All right. So to do this, we will require this n. So let me just declare that value. Let n is equal to an array dot length. So that will give me the length of the array, and then all I have to do is say for let I is equal to 0, I less than an array dot length, I plus plus. I also need an array to return it with. All right. So I'm going to call it a return array. And for now, I'll just declare it as an empty array over here. Return array of I would also be an array. Okay. The same thing goes for the j also. So let j is equal to this thing. J is less than I dot length j plus plus. All right. And what is the formula that we'll have to say? We'll say return array of, what is that? So new I is n minus j minus 1. So which is n minus j minus 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Return array of I is equal to from the old array. All right. So which is an array of n minus j minus 1 of I. All right. And then I'll say return array. So this should in fact rotate the whatever evenly spaced two-dimensional array we have 90 degrees. Now there is an easy way to actually.
Is there something off?
Oh yeah, it should be I of j. So it's I of j is equal to this. So this should rotate it. There is an easier way to, instead of actually testing it on the code, JavaScript allows you to actually test it over here. So that's what I'm going to do, right? So I'll just say, so let's just say console.table of L tetromino. And what this will do is it will basically show it like this. So let's show it to you in a nice Excel format. Now I can say variable ss is equal to rotate 90 clockwise of L tetromino. So let's say I did this, and then I can say console.log of ss. Console.table of ss. If I do this,
correct,
it should have rotated it, and you will see that it has rotated it. All right. Compared to this, for example, you can see that this is like this, and you can see that it has rotated it.
Yes.
So we know for a fact that our function will work right now. Now all I have to do is say if the arrow is up, then rotate the piece. Correct? Yeah. Let's just do that. Else if event dot code is arrow up. If it is really arrow up, then what did we say? Yeah, we said we'll just say rotate 90 of the current piece, right? See, current piece is equal to rotate 90, current piece, transpose piece, and then draw piece. Hopefully that should actually rotate the piece for us when we press the up arrow.
Wow.
There you go.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It does actually work for us, which is nice. I mean, I was hoping for another piece. So yeah, so there you go.
Right.
So that does rotate all of the pieces for us. Oh yeah,
Perfect.
nice. I was hoping it would be this.
Yeah.
You can see that it does the rotation and everything.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what do you say, Ravi? Do you think this is a logical place for us to stop for the first episode?
Yes.
Feels
I
like
think
it,
so.
right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've already covered a lot.
We've done the drop. We've done the rotate.
We've done, and I think the most important part, basically, just making sure that it gets rendered on the screen as we want it and everything. All right. So let me just switch back over here. So that's all we had for this week.
Yeah.
To join us again next week for the conclusion of
Tetris.
Tetris.
Our
Yeah.
version of Tetris.
Yeah. I know, unfortunately, we won't be able to add any sounds or anything to it because I think the. I mean, we can add our own custom sounds,
Good.
but we won't be able to add the Tetris music. Yeah. The Tetris music that you saw at the beginning of the video was actually free. Yeah.
But we have included the.
Yeah, we will provide attribution to the
Perfect.
music and everything. Yes. So that's all we had. Thank you so much for joining. See you again next week for the conclusion of Tetris.